What if I had started investing just $1,000 a month earlier? Where would I actually be today? I think about this a lot more than I probably should, because when you're in your 20s or early 30s, $1,000 a month feels like a very real decision. It's your rent going up, it's dinners you skip. It's the idea that you're finally earning a decent salary, but somehow it still feels like there's never quite enough left at the end of the month. And in that environment, investing often becomes this later thing. Something you'll do when you're making more, when life is more stable, when things feel less tight. But here's the part that quietly messes with people. Most of us assume that $1,000 a month isn't enough to really change anything. Like, unless you're investing huge amounts, it's just not worth thinking about yet. I used to hear that all the time. What's the point of putting in $1,000? That's not gonna make me rich. And honestly, I understood where that comes from. Because in your day-to-day life, $1,000 disappears fast. It feels like a short-term amount of money. But investing doesn't behave like day-to-day life. It doesn't scale linearly the way we expect it to. And when you actually sit down and run the numbers on what consistent investing like that turns into over time, it starts to challenge a lot of the assumptions people quietly carry around. Because it's not just about how much you invest, it's about how long you let it compound. And once you see that clearly, the story you tell yourself about not enough to start yet, it doesn't quite hold the same way anymore. So I am Humphrey Yang, and over the years, I've spent a lot of time talking with people at very different stages of their financial lives. Some are just starting out, trying to figure out how to even invest their first paycheck. Others are high earners who still feel like they're behind because they didn't start earlier. And then there are people who did start early but weren't consistent and are now trying to make sense of why their results don't match what they expected. And one pattern shows up again and again, almost regardless of income level or background. Most people tend to underestimate consistency and overestimate timing. There's this quiet belief that investing success is mostly about finding the right moment. Like, you need to get in when the market is low, or when your income finally reaches a certain threshold, or when life finally feels stable enough to do it properly. But in practice, that perfect moment almost never feels perfect when you're actually living through it. What I've also seen is how emotionally charged investing really is for most people at the beginning. Even small market dips feel personal. People second guess their decisions constantly. Some panic sell after small drops. Others sit on the sidelines for years waiting for conditions that never really arrive in the way they imagine. And then there's the flip side, the people who quietly automate things. They don't try to time anything. They don't feel like they're doing anything special. They just invest regularly, almost boringly, month after month. And when you look at what actually happens over 10, 15, 20 years, that boring group tends to look very different from the rest. Not because they were smarter, not because they predicted anything, but because they stayed consistent long enough for time to do the heavy lifting. And that's usually the part people don't fully appreciate at the beginning. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but $1,000 a month feels like nothing in today's world, you're not wrong for feeling that. Because in real life, $1,000 doesn't sit around waiting to be invested. It gets absorbed quickly. Rent takes a chunk. Groceries keep getting more expensive. Subscriptions stack up in ways you barely notice. And by the time you look at your bank account at the end of the month, it can honestly feel like you're just trying to stay afloat. So when someone says, just invest consistently, it can feel a little disconnected from reality. Especially when terms like ETFs, index funds, compounding returns get thrown around like they're supposed to instantly make everything clear. Most of the time, they don't. They feel abstract, like something happening somewhere else, not in your actual life. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. They start asking a very honest question. Is this even worth it if I can't invest more? That doubt is more common than people admit, because if you zoom in month by month, it really does feel small, almost insignificant. But the strange thing about investing is that it doesn't reward what it looks like today. It rewards what it becomes over time. And at the beginning, that's hard to feel. You don't see momentum. You don't feel progress. It just feels slow. Until time starts entering the picture. There are really three simple ideas that change how you think about this. The first is that consistency usually beats timing. A lot of people try to figure out when the best time to invest is. They watch markets go up and down, they read headlines, and they feel like they need to wait for the perfect entry point. But what most long-term investors end up doing instead is something much simpler. They invest the same amount every month, regardless of what the market is doing. That's basically the idea behind dollar cost averaging. You're not trying to predict anything. You're just building a habit where you show up every month and invest. Sometimes you're buying when prices are high, sometimes when they're lower, but over time it smooths out. The key is that you never stop. The second idea is that compounding starts slowly and then quietly surprises you. In the beginning, it almost feels like nothing is happening. You invest for a year or two and the numbers don't feel very different from what you put in. That's where most people get discouraged because they expect early results. But compounding doesn't really show itself early on. It's more like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first, it's just a small ball of snow, but as it keeps moving, it picks up more snow, gets heavier, and starts growing faster than you expect. And then the third idea is that time is the real multiplier. Not just how much you invest, but how long you stay invested completely changes the outcome. The difference between investing for 10 years versus 20 years is not linear. It doesn't just double your results, it can completely change the scale of what you end up with. And that's the part most people miss at the beginning. They focus on the monthly amount, when the real power is in how long you let the behavior continue. When people first hear about investing in index funds or ETFs, it can sound more complicated than it actually is. But at the simplest level, you're not trying to pick winning stocks, and you're not sitting there trading in and out of positions every day. You're essentially buying a small piece of the entire market. So instead of asking which company is going to do well, you're saying, I want to own a little bit of all of them. Large companies, small companies, growing companies, slower ones, it's all bundled together. That's really what an index fund or ETF is. It's a collection of many companies packaged into one investment, so your money moves with the overall market rather than relying on a single stock doing well. And once you understand that, the emotional pressure drops a lot. You're not constantly trying to guess right, you're just participating in long-term economic growth. Now, the next idea is where things start to feel more interesting. Compounding simply means your returns start generating their own returns over time. So it's not just your original money growing, it's also the growth on top of the growth. At first, this feels almost invisible. You don't really notice it happening. But over long periods, it starts stacking in a way that becomes meaningful. A simple way to think about it is planting seeds. When you plant a seed, nothing looks impressive for a while. You water it, you wait, and for a long time, it just looks like soil. But under the surface, something is building. And eventually, it turns into something much larger than what you originally put in. Investing works in a similar way. You're not trying to harvest fruit immediately. You're planting something that grows quietly in the background year after year until time does what it always does when it's left alone. This is where it starts to matter in a very real, practical way, because there's a big difference between saving money and investing it over a long period of time. Saving is important. It keeps you stable. It gives you breathing room when life gets unpredictable. But saving alone doesn't really change a financial trajectory in the long run. It preserves money. It doesn't necessarily grow it in a meaningful way over decades. Investing, on the other hand, is what starts to reshape your future. And the part most people underestimate is the cost of waiting. When you delay investing for a few years, it doesn't feel like much in the moment. You tell yourself you'll start when you earn more, or when expenses settle, or when life feels less chaotic. But those early years are actually the most powerful years in investing because they give your money more time to compound. And that's the quiet trade-off people don't always see. Waiting doesn't just delay your progress, it reduces the total time your money has to grow. What I've noticed is that most people don't avoid investing because they disagree with it. They avoid it because, at the beginning, it feels too small to matter. $1,000 a month doesn't feel like it's building anything significant when you look at it week by week. But the reality is, consistency matters far more than starting with a large amount. A smaller amount invested early and consistently often ends up outperforming a larger amount started much later. Not because the strategy is different, but because time was allowed to do its work. And that difference eventually shows up in the things people actually care about. Having options, not being tied to a job forever, being able to retire without stress, or simply having financial flexibility instead of financial pressure. And most of the time, those outcomes don't come from dramatic decisions. They come from not delaying something that felt too small at the start. If you want to make this simple and actually doable, it really comes down to a few practical steps that remove most of the friction. The first step is to start with automatic monthly investing. It doesn't have to be $1,000 right away. It can be $100, $300, whatever feels realistic for your current situation. The important part isn't the number, it's the consistency. You're building a system where investing happens whether you feel like it or not. The second step is to keep it simple and stick with broad index funds or ETFs. You don't need to spend your time trying to pick individual winners or constantly researching companies. The goal here is to avoid unnecessary complexity and just participate in the overall market. That alone is powerful enough for long-term wealth building. The third step is to automate everything you can. Set it up so that money moves into your investments right after your paycheck arrives. This removes the emotional layer from the decision. You're no longer debating whether to invest this month. You already did. And the final step is probably the hardest, but also the most important. Ignore the short-term noise. Markets will go up and down. Headlines will make everything feel urgent. But your plan doesn't need to change every time the news cycle does. Because the truth is, you don't need to optimize every detail here. You don't need to find the perfect fund or the perfect timing. You just need to start and then keep going long enough for consistency to actually turn into something meaningful. There are a few very common mistakes that tend to show up when people start investing, and most of them have less to do with intelligence and more to do with behavior under uncertainty. The first one is waiting for the perfect timing. People often convince themselves that they'll start investing once things feel more stable, or once the market looks safer, or once they understand everything completely. But that perfect moment rarely arrives in the way people imagine it. So the delay quietly stretches on longer than intended. Another big one is stopping during downturns. When markets fall, even temporarily, it can feel like something is wrong. The numbers go down, headlines get louder, and the instinct is to pull back. But in reality, downturns are a normal part of how markets behave. The challenge isn't the downturn itself, it's the reaction to it. Then there's comparing results too early. A lot of people start investing, check their portfolio a few months later, and feel disappointed because nothing dramatic has changed. But investing doesn't show meaningful results on a short timeline. Early comparisons often create unnecessary doubt. Another quiet mistake is assuming small amounts don't matter. It's easy to look at $100 or $500 a month and think it's insignificant in the bigger picture. But over time, consistency at any level builds momentum that's hard to appreciate at the beginning. And finally, emotional decision-making tends to interfere with long-term plans. Buying when things feel exciting, selling when things feel uncomfortable, it's a very human pattern. None of these are failures, they're just natural reactions. But once you see them clearly, they become easier to avoid. I'm curious how this lands for you personally. Have you ever actually tried investing consistently for a few months, like setting a fixed amount and just letting it run without overthinking it? Not perfectly, not aggressively, just steadily. And if you haven't, what usually gets in the way? For a lot of people, it's not that they disagree with investing. It's more that life keeps getting in the way of making it feel like the right time. Or it feels like the amount is too small to matter, so it gets pushed to the side. Or sometimes it's just the uncertainty of not knowing if you're doing it correctly. And honestly, that's a very normal place to be. Because everyone you see who is comfortable with investing now was once in that exact same stage, figuring it out, second-guessing themselves, trying to understand what actually matters and what doesn't. There's no single timeline for this. Some people start early with small amounts, some start later with bigger ones, and most people are somewhere in between, just trying to build consistency while life is happening around them. So I'm genuinely interested. What part of investing feels most unclear or difficult for you right now? So if you zoom out from everything we've talked about, the core idea is actually much simpler than it first appears. Investing $1,000 a month doesn't look dramatic in the short term. It doesn't feel like something that changes your life in a single year or even a few years. But over long periods of time, it becomes something very different. Because compounding doesn't reward intensity, it rewards patience, it rewards repetition, it rewards the ability to keep going even when it feels like nothing important is happening yet. And that's really the shift most people don't see at the beginning. Investing isn't a one-time decision where you pick the right moment and then move on. It's a long-term behavior, something you repeat quietly in the background of your life while everything else changes around it. You don't need perfect conditions to make it work. You don't need perfect timing. You don't even need to get everything right. What matters far more is consistency over a long enough period of time. And the interesting part is, when people actually stick with it, wealth building starts to feel less like a mystery and more like a pattern. Slow at first, almost invisible, and then surprisingly predictable. Not because it's easy, but because it's consistent. If this idea made sense to you, the next step is really just continuing to build on it slowly, not rushing into anything extreme. Because once you understand how $1,000 a month can actually compound over time, the natural question becomes, what does that look like when it's structured properly? How do portfolios actually grow, not just in theory, but in a way that holds up over years of different market conditions? That's where a lot of people start to get more clarity, when they move from the idea of investing to the structure of investing. And if you're curious about that, the most helpful thing you can do next is keep learning in a steady way. Maybe the next topic is how diversified portfolios work, or how compounding behaves during market crashes, or even what most people get wrong in their first few years of investing. Because the goal here isn't to rush into decisions. It's to build understanding over time, so your decisions naturally become more confident and less emotional. And honestly, that's what financial education really is. Not a one-time lesson, but a long-term skill you build by staying consistent with it, just like investing itself.